right, let's jump out of the native file viewer and return to the review browsing and hit some of the workflow. We're going to dig into some searching as well. We offered a few different ways to browse through records in Relativity, what we call folders, a field tree, advanced and saved searches. We can also browse by clusters, which is part of the Relativity Analytics features. I'm going to go ahead and start with the case folders. These are a little different than what you might see in different applications. It's not a metaphor for the tagging and the coding structure. Instead, it's an actual physical location of the records in the system. It can be your Outlook or Windows Explorer, which is a metaphor that is very familiar with people, most people. We have a few high-level folders up here that we can set up. This padlock indicates that it is securable, so I can secure these folders. I have one here for file servers. They're organized by the city and then even the share. I also have custodians, and you'll see we have a custodian here, John Arnold. Perhaps he has some loose files that were lying around on his desk. Or maybe we have some email, and this is actually the preserved mailbox structure that John Arnold Outlook or Lotus Notes looked like, whichever one he was using. So, off of his mailbox structure here, if he was involved in a matter pertaining perhaps compact, we could come in and look at this compact folder and see exactly what he was storing in that folder there. This provides a very intuitive way to browse through records, and in terms of how we set this up, Relativity can map to any piece of metadata and load file. In this case, we map to the file path information. We had the file path automatically created based on that. Another popular way for our clients to use this is maybe if it was originally a paper-based collection and these documents were coded on the box level, we might want to recreate the box structure. Other than that, we can right-click and create folders very easily. So that's the case folder view. We also have what's called the field tree. This is a metaphor for the tagging and coding structure. It's also very intuitive as well. For instance, maybe we want to see something that's part of someone's deposition kit. Let's say Elliot, for example. And it looks like Elliot actually only has about 5 documents in his depo kit. We can also look at privileged documents. I can select here on this privileged. This has actually 54 documents in it at the moment. If I were to go in and tag documents on the system and tag some of them for privilege, and the next time I come in and select this privileged on the tag on the field tree, it would actually update to the new number. So that's the field tree. I'm going to go ahead and actually hide the browser and give myself some full screen real estate so we can talk about workflows and then touch on some of the reporting. As you can see here, we've got a little over 74,000 documents in the whole database. This is the Enron database. While 74,000 documents is a healthy sized database, the largest case in Relativity has over 93 million records. That has hundreds of users in that single database. These users are tipping, redacting, tweaking layouts of workflows, and then doing all sorts of searching, and it's still a very responsive system. This drop-down controls what we call views in Relativity. Views are canned queries that control workflow and a bit of reporting in general, but 3 things specifically. We have columns displayed across the top, the criteria that's pulled back for each of those fields, and then it usually has a default sort order. In this example, we're showing responsiveness, and issues. But if we're more of a first pass reviewer, we might not want to see those. We might want to see my unreviewed documents. This only has my responsiveness field. We would also probably even automate the workflow so that these records, once they were coded as responsive, would automatically flow into a second tier review. A couple of things that we can do with views include this. I have one called responsive documents. It looks like we have about 3,800, 3,900 documents in the system right now. I can actually drop down and include duplicates or family, even if they're not responsive. So in this case, I went ahead and included email duplicates, and you'll see I actually jumped up to 5,200 documents. Maybe I want to normalize these documents, so all I'm going to do is click on this responsiveness header, and it's going to sort all of the uncoded documents to the top. This way I can make sure that my documents are tagged correctly, or the ones that are not tagged at all. Since these are duplicates of all of the ones that I've marked responsive, I can actually select all and normalize these by clicking Go on the Edit and mass edit them. Actually, I can do a bunch of different things. I can mass TIFF or print locally. We can print them without redactions, do any tallying, summing, or averaging of fields of date, or export these. Each of these are individually securable, so I can grant rights to one, none, all, or any combination that makes sense to the reviewers. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and edit these. Now, I can take and go ahead and mark all of these as responsive. I would just click Save to go ahead and tag all of them. But in this case, I'm just going to cancel out. You'll also notice that there's a view called Not Reviewed Documents, Not Relevant Documents, which can be helpful to make sure we're not missing any responsive documents. To check for that, I would just go ahead and do this pivot and pull in maybe 10%, get a random sample of these documents. This workflow could be a quick way to pull a sample of documents in the document view in Relativity. Another question we usually get is how to create priv logs. In this case, it's just a matter of setting up a brand new view. So we have these documents that have been marked for privilege with the fields that we have agreed upon in the report. And with that, we can just take and select all documents in this search and do a mass action. Let's say for all these 144 documents that are marked privilege, we want to go ahead and maybe export them to file. We're going to get a list of options. We can create a CSV or a DAT file, but in this case, I think I'm going to go ahead and do an Excel spreadsheet. I also want to make sure that it's Unicode because we are fully Unicode compliant. So then from here, I can actually go through and look at this priv log, save it, manipulate it, do whatever I need, and send it out to others. So that's views inside of Relativity. Do we have any questions?